Hi-ho, everybody. Welcome to week 15 of Rock and Roll All Night and Journal Every Day, a year-long guide celebrating the fun of being a Kiss fan. I'm your host, Fido Kennington. Here's my ride or die, bro, Polly. How we feeling?
Tired? Let's do it. Let's talk about it.
2 weeks in a row, and this boy's tired. Let's see if we can energize him with some Kiss lore and musings. And
let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. Let's taco about it.
Let's
it
taco
is
about it.
Taco Tuesday. So
Isn't it? I already had mine.
it is.
Where are we at?
We're gonna I've been really weird with the sequential slip ups lately. I like to start off every episode of Hey Man, nice Kiss shirt with the t-shirt. Brian is sporting a lovely Kiss Army. What else needs to be said?
Paradise Express, the hot topic of Flint.
That's right. That's right. Going strong after probably pushing 40 years.
Probably, because it existed before I left.
Yeah, a little head shop in the mall that's good for all your smokables, all your rock merch, all your... yeah, they got all that stuff. Even to this day.
What you got?
I am rocking the Best Buy exclusive version.
Oh, shit, it's got a 40 on there.
Yeah. I'll throw up a graphic of all these good things.
Decades of decibels.
Yeah,
40 years.
This came with this was the limited version of the Kiss 40 that was released in 2013. I mentioned something on one of the earlier episodes about how my Sonic Boom t-shirt is weird to me for not having any trademark, no fine print on it whatsoever. And yes, the shoulder print is fine print, but nowhere on this shirt or that shirt does it say Kiss Organization, Epic Rights,
Universal.
None of that.
Nothing.
None of that stuff.
Nothing.
I love it. It's just it's the rock and roll over bit, you know. It's the corners of rock and roll over.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing on the back, just this little sleeve doohickey.
That's what it do.
That's what it do. So yeah, let's get into
April Ocho.
Let's get into
question one.
Question one. This would be April 8th. We're just gonna steamroll all over that weird steamer stuff.
Cleveland Steamer.
The Cleveland Steamroll. In your opinion, were the solo album covers overused in Kiss merchandising? Explain when the use of the solo covers may have jumped the shark.
I'm going to say yes, and probably, I don't know. I was just talking about it. It's like in the 90s, all I could find Kiss merch-wise was the solo album. And I would have wore that if I could find it. My autograph shirt that I barely wore. But it just has a green Kiss logo on the back. But it's got the solo.
Oh, it's got that day glow green.
It's got the solo faces on the front, and that's like basically the only Kiss merch I could find was solo album stuff. Looking,
yeah.
Well, they put out a ton of it.
It's funny you mentioned that design scheme. It's not funny, but that's also the scheme they used for the blacklight poster. I think there's a couple of different variations of the blacklight poster where the logo's in the middle and the logo's at the top, but it's just that day glow green. With the black light solo album faces. And yeah, not that I don't have a problem with the solo album faces at all. Shout out to Eraldo Carugati, a fine portrait artist that painted those. I really like what Melvins did.
Yeah,
their homage when they put out, for those of you who like your music a little sludgy, and if you don't know about the Melvins solo albums, each one, there were only 3 of them. Buzzo was Gene's cover, Dale's was Peter's and Joe Preston's was Ace's. But they had accompanying promo posters that matched the solo album posters.
So they went overkill.
They did.
But
They did.
Melvin's went overkill.
So,
like, one of the things too is when the solo albums came out, you had to get all 4 and you had to have the tote bag. So it was like they already started with a blitzkrieg, and the merch forms inside the records were all for the solo albums.
Yeah.
But it's that's the only merch you could get.
Did you get the tote bag?
No.
Yeah, that would have been a Moneybags thing to me.
4 albums?
Back
Are you
then,
kidding me?
4 albums at once, man. Talking, if I didn't have,
mention.
I started making allowance when after Destroyer came out, but man, still, I remember 50 cents a week, just bullshit money like that. Like
find out what Jeans and Peter sound like. Forget about it.
I honestly, Peters was the first one I got. I was in the hospital when the solo albums came out, and I got Peters on cassette and a little Panasonic tape deck, as kind of like a get well type of thing, like morale boost. I was down in Detroit in a hospital, and so I mean, it was kind of a drag. I mean, later when I got the solo album and I could look at the merch for, I mean, that's, I didn't quite have that fun experience with the cassette.
Right. Did the cassette have any merch?
No, the cassette didn't have anything.
So when did it jump the shark?
I don't know. I think you kind of nailed it when you said like in the 90s.
Sometime in the 90s.
You just went to, whether it was Spencer's or at the record store or whatever, and you're just like, how come the only poster is the Solo Faces? Or,
yeah, for a time that was like all the merch I could find was.
Yeah, I would have to say, I don't know, sometime in the late 80s, early 90s. There was always stuff, but as far as like if you wanted something with the the original lineup or the makeup, that's it seems like that's what it was limited to. I don't know if it necessarily jumped the shark. Like certain things, like I never got the keychains, the enamel keychains with the. Actually, those were a little different though. Because didn't Peter wasn't his hair all more like rock and roll over crazy, or was I'm trying to picture the keychains in my mind. They might not have been like exact solo album faces, but they were, they were sold on the merch form with the solo albums and stuff. So I don't know. Jump the shark is a relative term. But yeah, I think it's safe to say we both remember a time when it felt like that was just all over the damn place. So,
question 2.
April 9th. Who do you call, text, or message with Kiss news first? What was the last piece of Kiss news you sent this person? Well,
you or D-Main.
Yeah.
In the group chat, usually.
Yeah,
and I think the last time, I think me and D-Man were just like talking shit about Gene canceling like 17 of the shows, and then went ahead and canceled the whole thing.
Yeah. I would consult my phone to see what the last, the literal last thing, when I hear news. But yeah, it's one of those two guys usually. Sometimes I'll clue Flynn into something if it's especially notable. Who I saw Tim Flynn over the weekend at a gig, and he was like, "Hey, if you ever want me back on the pod, just say the word." So we're plotting and planning, Tim. A couple of weeks I'll be out in Cali, and I don't know how I'm gonna structure an episode of hey man, nice
Nice
Kiss
Kiss
shirt while I'm hanging out with John 5, but I'm going to do my best. So, oh, but if it's like the other way around, like if I hear something, I'll text Mark Cicchini and be like, hey, what's up? Oh, yeah, because I saw last week, it wasn't really news. I mean, it was news to me. Somebody I follow on Instagram, did I tell you about Keep It Simple Stupid Act? I don't know if that's someone that I've ever met at a con or if he's a complete stranger. I don't know. But he posted that he got one of my Holy Grail items, as you know.
The Dynasty towel?
Yeah. No, he's got the Dynasty shirt. He's got a promoter shirt.
Oh, I saw those.
It's got the date on the back.
Yeah.
Not only Kiss and Cheap Trick on the front, but New England as well.
Oh, dog.
And because there's been one of those that's been on eBay for years now, and he's asking stupid money. He wants $2,500 for a T-shirt, and I'm like, you know what? You can kiss something, and you're not gonna like it. But you're not gonna get my money. That's just insane.
April 10th. Describe in detail 10 things you love about Kiss.
All right, Polly taking an early lead, so I'm gonna throw it to you.
Throw it to me.
Got him?
Got it.
All right.
No, I don't. Let me see. Scooby dooby dooby doo.
These kids today and their phones.
The music first. The makeup. Costumes in 74. Costumes in 76. Costumes in 77. Story of their rise. We all know it. It's great. Fucking love it. Story of the fall. Let's talk about the when did they fall?
Is that the part you want to get into? It seems like that's the part you want to dissect.
Yes, because was it 78, 77? Was it 77, 78? Apparently they really didn't like each other at about this point. It's like solo albums. It's like they had a bunch of shit to do in 78 and they had to work together and they didn't want to. So it's like, and then they got to go away. They got to do the solo albums. So it's like, okay, yeah, we don't have to work together. So, and then Dynasty is like the stepping on of the banana peel. And the slide continues with Unmasked. And then Elder is the cliff.
You have this certain glee.
It's just the way that it happened, you know? It's like, didn't have to go down like that.
Yeah.
But it did.
But I mean, the crack. What do you think the first crack was? Like, when did the cracks
Probably 76 and Destroyer with Ace not showing up,
Ace.
you know, and pissing them off.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, okay, fine, we'll get Dick Wagner. And then Ace is like, well, fuck, why'd you do that?
I can't remember this. Maybe you can refresh my memory because we've seen some of the same, like, some of the YouTube things that, you know, Paul and Gene in their own words where they talk, you know, from album to album. Maybe that was a Necromonium thing that we saw. But I think almost from the get-go, I think from Hotter Than Hell maybe was the first time Peter gave him an ultimatum.
Right, yeah. Either put the drum solo in strange ways or I'm leaving the band.
Yeah, I'm leaving the band. So, I mean, can you imagine saying that kind of shit? Like, being in a... Yeah, and like, they weren't even aware of their own ascendancy at that point. Man, I would have smacked Peter. Just right then, man. Like,
would have had to be another... Yeah.
God, I'm not I don't endorse violence. Kwai Chang Caine is a hero of mine, but I'm cool with Billy Jack too, man. And I would have like roundhouse that dude if he pulled that shit.
Yeah, so
in retrospect, you know, at that time, man, like that's when you and I, like, and so many others, that's really when we love Kiss the most. But yeah, so anyway.
Stage show in 77. I forgot where I'm at. I think I came up with like seven or eight things I love about Kiss.
Yeah, we digressed a little bit.
So I don't know, man. What do you talk?
The
merch is cool, but
you can kind of pile in on some of these.
I'm gonna pile in on yours.
I've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. and there's no particular order here or whatever, but the 74, 75 look, those, those hotter than hell costumes, the wearing Abbott shoot in Central Park is just, if I could go back and like live a moment in history, I would just want to be hanging out on that day. They never looked cooler. And when I see those photos, man, I'm just like, but every once in a while, anyway, I digress. I just want to keep it moving. Cadillac, the fact that just that whole story of Jim Neff and the football team and the winning season and the kiss in the the music in the locker room and the fact that they caught them at just the right time where they could persuade them to come to this town. And Sheen, they all speak so fondly of it, and why would they not? I mean, can you imagine your band coming to a small town anywhere?
It never happened.
And it's just it's like Planet anywhere, Kiss,
It was almost like when later on, like, people would send emails to celebrities, can you go to my prom? And they actually do, or something like that. But
yeah,
nobody did that. I just like, do you think like Maureen McCormick would come to somebody's prom?
Right, hell no.
There's no way you can get a hold of them.
Yeah. Eve Plum, it's not going to be my date.
Right. That just didn't happen.
But yeah, so that, the look, the love for Cadillac, and more broadly Michigan, this is where we took it's just common knowledge. We took to Kiss like a duck to water.
They were headlining all throughout the state,
when they were still kicking rocks in other places.
They were opening, and they weren't drawing houses in L.A. Not big ones.
Yeah,
they were a draw here.
But yeah, it's just an accident of birth that I'm a Michiganian.
Michigander.
I take
hard rock.
Are we going to get into that?
Hard rock in Michigan was pretty dope.
Yeah,
Seeger,
Stooges, MC5, Seeger, Nugent, Grand Funk, Flint's Own, baby.
Just
we had it going on.
Fertile area for hard rock music.
Yeah.
So Kiss fit right in.
So yeah, I love that. I love just the idea. And again, that speaks to being in the right place, but this speaks to being in the right time and being young enough to still, not be cynical about superheroes and Kiss, the way they look, the way they portrayed their characters it was just the best possible fuel for an imagination of a kid, that was into like Spider-Man and Doctor. Well, I might as well just say Marvel.
Yeah,
I was a Marvel guy, but
me too.
Kiss are just like, even before the comic book, we would have me and Nate Baylog and Sam Reynolds and have that conversation about, oh man, they should be in a comic book. They're just perfect for that, but they're, it wasn't kiddie music. You could talk a naive aunt or uncle into like hooking you up with some Kiss stuff, and then, but then
it wasn't the Archies.
No, and then this will lead. I'll jump all the way down my list to like the early danger of Kiss. Like all good rock and roll, there's an element of that which you want to hide from your parental units, and I love that. I love the way Gene just crawled into his character and just, I can only imagine how much fun that would be to put that face on and suit up and just be the Bat Lizard for a couple hours.
Absolutely.
The live spectacle, obviously.
Pyro, I forgot about that.
Jesus. You don't even have to I've taken virgins to Kiss concerts, Even my parents, I remember about 20 minutes in to Kiss at the Silverdome, and my stepdad, and my stepdad is into like Bob Dylan, John Prine, like he's into folk and he was into Zappa, he was into all kinds of stuff really, but he kind of drew the line at like the heaviest. He wasn't like sitting around listening to Ted Nugent or whatever, but he just was, by the athleticism of Kiss, he was kind of knocked out, and he like turned to me and was like, what's with those boots? Like, how are they, like, man, they're jumping up. He was just freaked out at how athletic they were and how they were moving around. So I mean, yeah, it's just that it's no secret that you can take a noob to a Kiss concert, and even if they don't like the music or the personalities, they don't have to know shit about Kiss,
right,
to know that that is a show that plays to the back of the room. And I've seen a ton of concerts, and I've only ever seen a couple other performers that have that range. You know what I mean? That sort of, that firepower. The fan love. I love the fact that, you know, a couple of guys in Terre Haute did what they did to kick off the Kiss Army, and I love that Kiss loves their fans enough to continue to do what they do. Now, the flip side of that, which I also enjoy, so what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Who's keeping count, really? But I am. But the fan hate. I love the fact that they're so easy to hate by people that will just dismiss the you know, the clown show or the 3-chord you know, mongoloid rock or whatever. All the you know, all the crap you read in like Rolling Stone over the years or whatever. You know, I just love being on the inside and going, yeah, you keep on hating. You don't know. Like,
that's
we
the
know.
thing. I wish my friend Chris, born in '76, I asked him if he wanted to see Kiss one time. He's like, I don't want to see a bunch of old guys wearing makeup. He ended up seeing Motley Crue and Alice Cooper and told me that Alice Cooper just kicked the shit out of him live, and Cooper was the opening act. And but I think if he would have gone to the Kiss concert, he probably would have converted because of the pyro.
Oh yeah,
just the show. Show.
He would have been blown away. That is kind of a bummer now that, you know, they're not touring. That especially knowing that he got off on the theatricality of Cooper.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so the early danger, the non-fan hate, the fan love, the superhero imagination, the Michigan love, the 74, 75 look, Gene Simmons. I love that he loves his band. I love that
now.
I mean, I don't know. I love the fear that he instilled in me. The fact that like a musical artist could like instill a primal fear. And that's why, you know, at times I wish I was older, but most time I'm glad that I was as young as I was. I was a toddler when I saw him on Mike Douglas, you know, and that's just like, that just gets in your bones.
I was 8, but I was still freaked out.
That's like it just gets you. Okay. And then, and I think the last 2 things that I would mention that I love, the 9 and 10, would be the merch, specifically the merch that came in the albums. When you got a Kiss album, you knew you were getting a bunch of cool stuff. It wasn't just the music, even if it wasn't like packed with stuff like Alive 2 was. It was just fun to just take an album and just spend a lot of time just staring at it and imagining it coming to life. And what are, like, I'm just looking at Dress to Kill right now out of the corner of my eye, and it's like, what were these 4 guys joking about right before that pick was taken or whatever? You know what I mean? Again, it goes back to the imagination. Kiss is just such an imagination stimulator. It's insane. No, that ain't Loggins and Messina doesn't do that. You know.
Thank you.
John Denver.
Yeah.
I love John Denver.
But I didn't stare at John Denver all night.
I did not.
looking at it. Oh, that's like see him live. You know what you get.
Oh man, I wonder if Grandma's feather bed is firm or extra firm. No, man. No, it's Kiss, man.
In a whole cat kids, 4 hound dogs, and a piggy we stole from the shed. Don't get me. I was into that stuff before Kiss came.
Yeah.
So.
I definitely don't. I don't want to take away, but and the last thing, and this is what some Kiss fans don't like about the band, and hopefully the flip side of this question is in this book somewhere. Maybe what are the 10 things you dislike about Kiss? That could be fun to talk about. But one of the things that there's disagreement of in between me and Powie is like the left turns they make. I love, if I'm slamming it, I'm calling it trend chasing. And if I'm praising it, I'm calling it, exploring or whatever. It's the same thing. Same thing.
Sure.
They explored with Dynasty. They explored
their
with
musical
Unmasked.
taste, and give it that they were growing up. They were getting in their 30s, and what they accepted musically broadened over time. Things happen. People get exposed to different kinds of shit, different kinds of music, and either you like it or you don't.
And when you have a respect for somebody like Bob Ezrin, even when your buddy Bob comes over and gets all coked up and then, okay, hear me out, and then leads you down this high concept path that is the Elder, that's gonna send people one way or the other. It sent you away and it drew me in.
Okay.
But I mean that's that kind of thing.
That's just your tough shit.
That's
Johnny Rod.
That's one of those things. And
I got my questions on my phone, so that's why I keep turning it on. And it's like, okay, let's go to April 11th.
April 11th. So yeah, April 10th was definitely plenty of detail. April 11th, there might be a little detail in this one as well. April 11th asks, in your opinion, what musical artist was the Kiss of the 50s, 60s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s? What album or event qualified this artist as the Kiss of their respective decade? Powie?
I wasn't there in the 50s, so I don't know. But I would wager, and yours is valid. So it's, I'd say Elvis Presley, even though I do believe that Little Richard was the true king of rock and roll, because he inspired Elvis.
They're all valid. All answers are valid. And that's why I love you guys sounding off in the comments. I'm starting to see more of that, which is cool. So yeah, so
I'm sorry to spoil yours, but I mean,
Little
Richard was more dangerous, but Elvis was dangerous too. But it was manipulation through the media from Colonel Com Parker, who whipped all that media into a frenzy about they won't show Elvis below the waist type stuff.
Much like Bill O'Coin,
The 60s, the Beatles, Kiss basically wanted to be the Beatles on steroids, doing Marshalls.
Mm-hmm.
And 90s?
80s.
Probably Motley Crue, unfortunately. I don't want to say it because I fell off the bandwagon after Shout at the Devil and Theater of Pain. I didn't like it.
Theater of Pain is the Crazy Nights of Motley Crue. Sorry.
So I fell off. I was like, I'm done. And so they didn't do it. But I guess they did it for a lot of people. And then I guess the aughts. I wasn't.
What about you? They're skipping the 90s.
I did? Oh, the 90s.
Yeah.
I like yours, so I'm not going to say.
Well, no, go ahead and
because
say
I don't know.
Your answers too.
It's like, it just seemed like, okay, but Kiss didn't get a lot of radio airplay, so it's not like Stone Temple Pilots or Soundgarden. It seems like that's all I was hearing. Godsmack, all that stuff was, I was hearing all that on the radio. And that was like, all I had to listen to. I mean, that was about it.
Yeah.
So I don't know who was. I mean, it seems like now Nirvana is more celebrated in
Yeah, in retrospect, for sure.
It seems like they might have, but I don't know.
There's a difference between having a monstrously successful album and then being totally like absorbed into the culture. Like they weren't absorbed into the culture the way people might think they were just because they had a big album. But I mean, that's why all the divergence in answers are all valid to this question, because there's so many facets to it. It's like Kiss of the decade, how? You know, in sales, in popularity, in influence on pop culture.
Absolutely.
In
That's
the
thing.
sort of strategy and the live presentation.
Like there was not like, I mean, there was Nirvana logo stickers maybe, but you didn't see a bunch of like, they didn't have a Destroyer. They didn't have
Right.
a like.
There was
No, they weren't a comic book. They were.
Yeah. I mean, a baby floating in a pool is about the most iconic image that they had. That's, I would say, Nevermind is their Destroyer in that sense.
Right.
What about the 2000s?
2000s again. I'm not
2000.
I'm not tuned up, but I mean, we were just talking about it. It's like I was getting in because Turbo Negro had gotten together and started doing stuff. So to me, I was obsessed with Turbo Negro. So because they were Kiss, Alice Cooper, and the Ramones in a blender. So they reignited my love for old Kiss,
and they had the theatricality. You know, they had the danger. You know,
yes, they did. Yeah,
the black leather of early Kiss was very much resurrected with Turbo.
The music was aggressive.
And just rock. Like don't. You know, the sadomasochistic, homoerotic, all that dangerous shit that you wouldn't want to show to your parents.
Euroboy solos were ace-like.
Turbo, oh my god, yeah.
So
I mean, yeah, Les Paul straight into a Marshall.
They made sense. They had beginnings, middles, and ends.
Yeah, they were lyrical. There's a lot of parallels between Kiss and Turbo for sure.
But I mean,
But then when you talk about, you know, like what Kiss was to the 70s and how big they were, of course Turbo wasn't that big. But for those of us who were into them, that I totally valid answer. I would. So my set is a little different, but again, Kiss of the 50s, Little Richard,
valid
because. You know, the danger aspect, we kind of covered it. The Beatles, of course. And I always like to repeat this bit of trivia because I love it. Only two... Oh, maybe I should make this trivia. Maybe, you know, Google is your friend, whatever. But put it, if you know, in the comments, one thing as it relates to... Billboard charts. What's one thing that the Beatles and Kiss and no one else has in common? I think there's a couple of answers to. There's a couple of key things that the Kiss and Beatles have in common, but put them in the comments if you know what I'm getting at. Only two groups were able to do this. And it was Kiss and the Beatles. Okay, so anyway, getting back to that. So yeah, Kiss and the Beatles for the 60s. For the 80s, I said Motley Crue as well. Just the makeup, the theatricality.
Yeah, the first picture I saw was Nikki Sixx's legs were on fire. And I was like, holy shit, it's Kiss.
Did you see Blackie's legs on fire before you saw Nicky's?
No, it was Motley Crue because the lead singer had white hair and looked evil. Had the red leather and he had the white face. I was like, holy crap.
Something. Now that's something that's a contender for the 80s decade is Wasp.
True.
So much of the stage show.
They made it into the Filthy 15. But so did Motley Crue.
But it's funny though, man. It's like when you look at Motley Crue, and you know we talk about that thing that we are critical of Kiss for doing is sort of trend chasing. Boy, Motley really condensed their trend chasing a lot, to think about Kiss's trajectory over, from 73 to, well over a decade, say to 85, 86, 87, Crazy Nights era. Like that's, man, like Motley Crue they really packed their trend chasing into a short few year period. They saw that shark and decided to jump it. They were proactive.
90s.
90s. What did I say for the 90s?
I'm trying to remember. I can't.
You said Turbo.
No, well, that was 2000s. I mean, I don't know when I got into the Turbo.
Oh no, but it's obvious. Marilyn Manson.
That's it.
Yeah. Same thing. Completely falls under the heading of shock rock. That's the phrase that you saw being used so much when Marilyn came out. And when you see that phrase, the first two things you think of are Alice Cooper and Kiss. Shock rock. Boom. Don't bring it home to your parents.
A lot of people were up in arms about Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, there was a resurgence of the satanic panic that eventually, became attached to Kiss in the late 70s and through the 80s. That satanic panic shit was everywhere. And the 2000s, I would say Rammstein. Nowhere near as successful or like culturally pervasive as Kiss, but they know how to play to the back of the room. And I invite, again, commentary down below to those of you younger fans who, I mean, please turn me on to something like, maybe I'm missing somebody that's really obvious from the 2000s that really like takes a page from the Kiss book. And there are some, bands that deserve honorable mentions across these decades, Screamin' Jay Hawkins, definitely,
Crazy
going
World
back
of
to the
Arthur
50s, Arthur Brown. Gene, in that, there's a recent Rick Rubin interview that I listened to with Gene, and he mentions, and the funny thing that he thought was remarkable about Arthur Brown when he heard that song, I am the god of hellfire and I'll take you to burn. Like, he thought people didn't sing about themselves in that, in that way. It was all like Moon, June, Spoon, I love you, this, that, the other. So yeah, those guys get honorable mentions. But some, Guar, Lordy, bands like that Slipknot, you gotta mention Slipknot because...
Are they 2000s?
Late 90s. I think, what was Iowa their first record? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Y'all have to school me on this, but I think that was like 99. But so I guess you could say generally 2000s. But yeah.
Real heavy, and I don't know if they got like a lot of the flack from the conservative groups.
Oh, they did. Yeah,
okay.
They did. There's a lot of that, and plus just the idea of like, I'm envious of any band, and Kiss of course being the prime example of like, anybody could put that makeup on and those not anybody, but you could theoretically replace yourselves and still like Paul has mentioned, and Paul has mentioned this too, Kiss 2.0 in how many interviews of the last 5-10 years,
We'll see.
It's
not going to happen.
But I mean, I just think it's cool. I think it's cool that could theoretically be possible where like our great grandkids might go to a concert and see what is passing for kids. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, and it would definitely be less. It would be, at least on its face, superficially, it would be less. It would less disingenuous than like the Coasters or whatever, where like the son of the last original member is like touring as the Coasters or what have you. But so yeah, Slipknot gets a mention in there too. Yeah.
Real heavy band. And had a guy who beat on a keg.
Really good, really good,
With a
man.
bat.
I mean, as a drummer, I love the fact that they had percussionists on top of Joey George. Joey Jordison was an amazing drummer, and Eloy Casagrande, that guy they got to replace it. He's left the band now too, but man,
Yeah, I do remember like listening to their studio stuff and just going, golly, who plays drums?
It's very tribal.
Yeah.
I like it. Moving on to April 12th. Do you consider yourself a Kiss collecting completist? What from your collection is an example of completist collecting? As you could hear from Brian's escape of air, he's not a collector, let alone a completist.
I'm not a completist. But it's like...
Yes, you're a collector.
And I just found out, too, I mean, watching Rick Howard, who wrote the book,
It's All for You, Demon.
Rock and Roll All Night.
And journal every day.
It's a year-long guide to celebrating the fun of being a Kiss fan.
Yeah, go to Amazon and get it.
Get it.
If you don't, you're a fool.
He had like what? I don't
How many
know.
copies of Dynasty do you have, Rick? How many do you need?
I didn't know you had to get that. It's like you got the green vinyl and you got the red with the black.
You got the Argentinian. I mean, when I see some of his stuff, I'm a good sucker for a good hype sticker. But yeah, I don't think I'm a completist with anything. Including most of my day-to-day tasks that would otherwise make me a productive human being.
There's that.
I've thought about this. This isn't one of those like fly by the seat of your pants episodes. I read the questions a few days ago and was really thinking about, and I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss as to if there's anything Kiss that I have that is complete. Like, I don't even have. I mean, obviously, I don't even have every album. There's, when you think about, stuff like, my shirt, for example, the Decades of Decibels. There's, I wanted to shout out Xander, Daphne, Kiss Army Things, because in their recent episode, they cover, or no, wait, maybe you didn't mention that in the episode. I forget. But a recent Instagram post, he showed the Kiss 40 Japanese version. You know what I mean? And it's like my version of Monster is like the deluxe with the book, but I don't have the Japanese with the bonus tracks. It took me until last year to get the originals too. I don't have. I'm trying to think if there's really a glaring omission in the standard vinyl catalog. I really don't think there is, but there's variations. I'm certainly not a completist. The only thing I would like to complete, I guess, is to get as many bits of ephemera from the Dynasty show that I went to. But apart from that, I just, the older I get, especially, man, it's just about experiences. And again, experiences, circling back to what Xander did say on the last Kiss Army Things episode. He wanted feedback. I don't know if you watched the episode, but he was like, if I put together a little expo, do something in Indiana.
I thought there was a thing. He said he was going to do.
Yeah,
something.
and he was like, just let me know what your interest is. Would this be something that you'd be interested in? And I'm like, hell yeah. So
just
yeah.
to congregate with some Kiss fans.
Yeah, man.
Cool.
He's like, and he said, yeah, just to get together, maybe pay $20 to get in and talk about Kiss and look at some, invite people to bring shit and just real info, like the way we used to do it, hell yeah, I'd be all about it. I need to make a comment on that episode to make my intentions clear, but hopefully he'll watch this pod and he'll know. So yeah, moving on to April 13th. This one's kind of skippy. April 13th. Have you ever drawn or painted any of the Kiss solo album images? Sketch your favorite cover below. And it says, today, exclamation point. I'm just a shitty art. I put a pencil in my hand, and it's the same as a crayon in my mouth.
I used to try to draw stuff when I was younger, and I thought I was doing good, but I wasn't. I mean,
then you went back and looked at it later, and you're like, "Oh man, Peter Criss looks like the Elephant Man. What happened?"
But I mean, I was pretty adroit at drawing the makeup designs.
You're also pretty adroit at the vocabulary. Nice. If you know what adroit means, leave it in the comments.
They're playing in about 45 minutes. Adroit. They're playing Milwaukee.
The
adroit
Ligers. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not gonna be. This is what my drawing of Gene Simmons looks like. See.
That it?
That's it. No. As far as questions, we have one more question for April 14th, and here we go. Kiss is coming to your town for a concert. Do you have to get the best seats in the house, or are you happy to just be in the building? Why?
We didn't know. When the reunion tour happened, we didn't know exactly how many shows they were going to be doing. We didn't know. They had announced Los Angeles, the Forum, but they hadn't done the Lost Cities yet. They hadn't done the secondary markets. Apparently, San Diego would have been a secondary market.
Were you thinking there was going to be Lost Cities?
I don't know. No. We went to the Forum first. It's like, we got to go.
Because when, you watch the press conference.
And we were thinking it was going to be one and done. Like, they're just going to hit the big cities, and this is it. And then, it's out. So, I can't remember. We were on the floor. It seems like we had seats, and then we ended up down on the floor, but I can't remember. I'm going to have to leave it in the comments. Somebody, D-Man, if he knows. But it seemed like we were on the floor when they did do San Diego in October. They came back, and it was like, okay, we're getting floor. We got on the floor, and I'd want to be on the floor because it just seemed like the farther away you are, it's like you see the drum, you see the stick.
Yeah, you see the delay.
The delay. It's like, this doesn't work. The audio's not matching up with what I'm watching.
Yeah. It asks, are you happy just to be in the building? Why? There was a time where, you want to get down on the floor. I don't care about that so much anymore. Seen Kiss a bunch of times. So I guess what I'm saying is you're going to get a different answer throughout my life. But, when I look back at like the biggest, the two biggest ones were Dynasty Tour and Reunion Tour. And in both of those instances, I was just happy to be in the building for both of them, honestly. I mean, we were, because by the time Tiger Stadium was announced, it was just like, you knew how fast, you knew about Ticketmaster and basically how it worked, and that it was not going to last, and you were just going to get plugged in. Yeah, sure, you could take maybe 30 seconds to ask the guy behind the window for a chart so you could, it's not like it's not online, it's not real time like it is now. Yet he actually had a a 3-ring binder of, you know, page protectors with venue layouts, you know, seating charts, and it's like, this is what I got. And, you know, so I mean, it was just to be in the stadium, you know, for Tiger Stadium.
Dodger Stadium, I was real far away, and I wasn't too thrilled. I mean, I had to look at the screen, and the 3D effects weren't working because I put the glasses on and it didn't do anything. So I was like, well, this sucks. But I mean, it was an evening of Kiss music. They did some stuff, you know. They were that was the Psycho Circus thing. So there was a few, you know, they threw in Within, and seemed like they did Rock Bottom, but I can't remember. It's like, I mean, just, you know, a lot of, and Smashing Pumpkins were pretty good too. So that was interesting.
That's definitely also falls under happy just to be in the building, you know. And as for why, I mean, for most of my Kiss concert going career, I'm poor, you know, so I'm just like, nowadays, you know, it's like, I'm not, and I, you know, I didn't have an in, and, you know, if there was any sort of, you know, any hope of, you know, backstage or any sort of prestige level to the concert going experience, it was after the fact. It was after the concert. It was going around the back of the Civic Center and waiting to catch a glimpse or whatever. You know, it's like,
they didn't have meet and greets.
We
paid $2,000 to hang out.
It was free, but it was a lot dicier. And half the time, shit, you know, we had to work, we had to go to school, so it was like, didn't have the luxury of like going down at like 1 PM and, you know, scoping out the hotel and trying to get the, you know, for sound check. It's like, no, man, it's just that happy to be in the building mentality. So anyway, we're happy to have you in the building that we like to call, hey man, nice Kiss shirt.
I wasn't sure if it was rock and roll.
I was going to say the Twilight Zone, the shadowy realm of hey man, nice Kiss shirt. But yeah, we're glad you're here.
Thanks for watching.
And feel free to put your 2 lips together, kiss that subscribe button. And as always, with a little less light than before, play hard,
play fair,
nobody hurt.